Camto will win election. I just can vote for the change.
Yeah. Good day, everyone, and Happy New Year. Welcome to the premiere edition of Debate Cameroon Perspectives. My name is Barrister Agbor, and my co-host today is Mbole Nane. Debate Cameroon Perspective is one of our flagship programs, which we intend to bring to you newsmakers, opinion leaders, civil society advocates, consultants, and experts, as you all recommended during our end-of-year survey. These individuals will discuss a wide range of issues, including but not limited to culture, the economy, politics, healthcare, education, as well as other social issues. Our focus is more on improvement of the present. It may take the form of straight talk like we have today, or a roundtable with more than one guest. Our hope is to have perspective run once every month. Our other program, the Big Debate, will also run once a month. So watch this space for the upcoming Big Debate in 2 weeks' time. Of cardinal importance to us is the knowledge and education we harness from our guests. We believe the opinion leaders are best to answer your questions and sometimes explain to you why they made some decisions and the circumstances under which they made those decisions. We also believe it is an opportunity for our guests to directly speak to the people and address them accordingly. Sometimes you may not always agree with our guests, and rightly so, and it's totally understandable. We do accept disparate views, but what we don't condone and strongly discourage is any form of disrespect. Disrespect to our fellow audience, disrespect to the host, but most importantly to our guest. We know Facebook is free for all, but we do have a lot of respect for you, which explains why we bring you the caliber and quality of guests we present to you. We thus expect the respect to be reciprocated. Thus, we strongly discourage any forms of insults, abuse, and name-calling on our platform. We are also aware of the events of today in Douala, where a group of peaceful protesters, including Maitre Ndoki Michel, which I believe you all know, as well as Celestin Jamen of the MRC, were shot by the police. Our guest today, we are aware, knows a thing or two about the happenings of today, and we may ask him sometime in the program to talk about the events. So, Mbole?
Hello, fellow viewers. Welcome to the premiere edition of Debate Cameroon Perspectives. We are excited and honored to welcome a very special guest on the show today. Someone who stands firm in advocating for justice, equality, peace, freedom, and a system of governance that works in favor of all Cameroonians. He's smart, articulate, and concise in his approach of diplomacy. His humanitarian works and advocacy for a prosperous Cameroon is well documented. After locked up for 7 months on charges of terrorism, treason, civil unrest, and jeopardizing the peace and unity of the nation, he came out of prison stronger, louder, and fiercer in his demands for justice and fairness for the peoples of Southern Cameroon. While some of his critics call him soft, compromised, a sellout, blackleg, and a government surrogate, a large majority of his many supporters sees in him a frontline leader to the struggle, a visionary, an influencer, a hero, and role model for the old and the young as well. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow viewers, our guest is none other than Barrister Agbor Nkongho. Barrister, thank you for having accepted our invitation and welcome to Debate Cameroon Perspective.
Thank you for having me on Debate Cameroon Perspective. I'm a little bit stunned by your introduction. When you do such an introduction, you set the bar so high, I might not be able to live up to your high billings, but hopefully the discussions will be very interactive, will be interesting, and I hope that the viewers will not be disappointed because that kind of introduction makes me shiver. But hopefully I will try my best. Inshallah, I will do my best and we'll have a very interesting discussion.
Thank you, Barrister. So actually, we have been contemplating how we're going to run the show today, and I think it's important before we get into all the current things that are happening, which is really the heat of the moment. We just want to take a step back and go to the beginning of where everything started. So, Barrister, could you please tell us the circumstances of your arrest in June 17, 2017?
January 17th, actually.
January 17th, sorry, 2017.
Well, I don't know whether we have to take a walk down memory lane to the whole creation of the Cameroon Anglophone Civil Society Consortium, the fight by lawyers and teachers, because that's where it really began. So it didn't just begin. It did not just begin on the 17th of January. So October 2016, lawyers felt that there was the erosion and marginalization of the common law and the Anglophone in its entirety. And we felt that we could fight against the injustice perpetrated against us as a people by drawing the attention on government and the international community to the ills and the wrongs in the country. So we had a meeting in Bamenda. That meeting took place in 2015, which came out with certain demands and was followed up in the Boya conference. October 2016 held another meeting in Bamenda wherein we tabled a memo to government, but because we have a government that is known for showing complete disrespect and disdain to the people, that is not a people-centric or people-oriented government, a government that thinks about itself rather than what the people wanted, they did not respond. So we started a 3-day strike, expecting government to at least to try to address our demands. Government did not. We pushed it to 1 week. Then as a result of that, teachers also were clamoring to go on strike, and we felt that we had to harness the Anglophone movement in one canopy. That led to the creation of the Cameroon Anglophone Civil Society Consortium that everybody calls the consortium today. The consortium grew in leaps and bounds. It became very powerful. It was the voice of the voiceless. It was a legitimate voice of the people of the geographical entity called Southern Cameroon. And with the famous 9 January ghost town, the mother of all ghost town, the ghost town that had the legitimacy of the people, that the people respected without any threat or intimidation to them, the government realized how powerful, how well organized, and how coordinated the consortium was. So on the 17th of January, the government decided to have a press conference around 5 p.m., ban the consortium, ban the Southern Cameroon National Council, popularly known as the SCNC, and then less than 1 hour afterwards, the leaders of the consortium were arrested. So on that fateful day, around 5:15, I was home. I decided to take a little break from partisan or frontline activism. Don't forget that on the 10th of December, my dad had died in my house, and I had to start thinking about his burial. So I said to myself, let me take a break, let me rest. It was very stressful. There was a lot of work that was being done. And so that particular day, I did not do anything. In the morning, one of our neighbors, Mami Epanti, whose husband used to, an elder Soban, we used to hold a Soban meeting in our home, she died. So I was informed in the house. So I went to check on her. They were taking her to the mortuary. And it's strange enough because I didn't go with my car. So I wanted to get into the car of one of my neighbors. And she was like, well, Balla, it's risky to have you in my car because they might want to shoot or arrest you. And they arrest me or they kill me. And these things were just prophetic. We went to the mortuary, came back. I bought up about 10 newspapers. I'm a newspaper person. So I'm like, let me go home and sit and just read papers to know what was happening. Then about 5 past 5, the publisher of the Guardian Post called me to inform me that the consortium had been banned and he needed my opinion on it. And I was like, no, I've not heard anything. And he was like, well, Balla, I will not call you to say the consortium has been banned when it has not been banned. So I made a statement. Then, like a few minutes after, Mimi Mefo called me also from Equinox to ask my opinion on it. And that's when I believed that the consortium had been banned. And I know Cameroon, in my own small way, I knew that the next thing would be an arrest. So I got to my bedroom, had a shower, got dressed up, called one of my friends, a friend of mine who's like a brother, that he should come to my house so that we should go and see Dr. Fontem. I had tried to reach Fontem to inform him about the decision and let's strategize. Unfortunately, I could not get from them on the phone. So when my friend came to pick me up and he asked me if I had my passport with me, and if I have my passport with me, he has made arrangements for me to go to Bamenda so that I can be secured in Bamenda. And I told him that I'm supposedly a very stubborn person. I said, I don't have my passport. My passport is in my house. He said, let me go and take my passport. I hesitated. But what I told him was that if my father was not in the mortuary, I don't care whether they arrest me or not. I made this statement not knowing that within an hour I'll be arrested. But I got home, picked up my passport, put it in my jacket. And whilst we were leaving the house, my contact person from the US Embassy called me and informed me that I would be arrested and the internet will be cut off that evening. So I told my friend, I'm like, well, they've told me that they've briefed the embassy that I'll be arrested. But I still told my guy that I'm not going anywhere. First of all, I've not done anything wrong. I am not leaving Boya. I'm not going to Bamenda, and I'm not leaving Cameroon. So I'm going to stay here. So we went to Fontaine's house. And when we got to Fontaine's house, Fontaine was not around. But he was around the neighborhood. So he came in, and we were now planning to leave to go to my friend's place to have a meeting. But I think I had this premonition that it's going to be there. Radio France called me for an interview on the banning of the consortium, and I told them to call me in 5 minutes that I'm having a meeting. Then I sent a text to one of the consultants, the researcher on Cameroon on Amnesty International. I sent her a text that I have a feeling that I'll be arrested. My safety cannot be guaranteed. So I just want to put you on notice. 5 minutes after, the commissioner from Moliko, who knows me very well, so they were all around. Fontaine lives around the Bondoman neighborhood in Boya. So it was a ghost town day, but strangely enough, there were lots of cars around the area. So it's afterwards we knew there were security people. And Nana drove in, blocked us. I was like, who is trying to block us? It was like kind of a one-way street. And Nana came and said, well, Barrister, you're my friend. I'm like, yeah, yeah. But they've sent me to arrest you. And I said, okay. Never resisted. I said, okay, that's fine. He said, where's Fontaine? I said, Fontaine is not around. I said, well, they sent you to come and arrest me. That's fine. But Fontaine was behind the backseat of the car. So afterwards, I told him that Fontaine was there. So he said, we should move now and get to their car. So we got to their car, and they said the governor wanted to see us. But for those of you who know Boya, going to the governor's office from Bondoma is you take a right and you go up and you don't descend going towards Moliko.
Moliko, yeah.
So the guy spoke to someone in French that Fontaine overheard, and they took a left going towards Moliko. So Fontaine started creating a scene that Kinami and Barrister and a few people came on the street. Unfortunately, it was a ghost town day. So they decided to make a U-turn now, and they told us that we were going towards, we're going to see the head of the police. They took us to the GME, changed us in different vehicles. But the guy, one of the police guys asked me that why was I not creating a scene? Why was I not? I'm like, you know what? You guys have come to arrest me. I would not give them the pleasure to feel that they have control over me. Because the whole thing is a mind game. You understand? You can physically change somebody, but if you get into the person's mind, then the person is the one that's responsible. And my entire 8 months in jail from the day I was arrested, I didn't allow anybody to get into my mind. Because as a leader, you have to be seen, because perception matters. No matter what situation, you had to be strong. Not only strong for yourself, but for the people that you're supposedly leading. So I told him that, well, you guys are arresting, or what should I do? So from Jeremy telling us that they were going to the head of judicial police, they took the tallest as a road. That's when we became a bit scared. It was getting dark. They were taking us towards Tole, So they took us to Tole, through Mile 4 and Douala. So by the time people were blocking, people were coming to Jeremy, we were already out of the territory of Southern Cameroon. We were already on our way to Douala. So when we went to Douala, they had to change the vehicles. The Douala police officers took control. And Mifiri, that I know very well, who had worked in Boya, verbally abused us. I remember he told me that, do you think you can rule this country? During the protest of the lawyers in Boya, when they had seized the wigs and gowns, I'd walked to him and I told him to give me the wigs and gowns of the lawyers. As the president of the Lawyers Association that gave me the wigs and gowns, that it was a peaceful protest, and he told me that they'll give us the next day. So he reminded me of the fact that I was telling him that it was a peaceful protest, but things had metamorphosed to something else. And he verbally, can you rule the country with anything you are? I'm like, I did not respond. But the worst part of the fact that we were cuffed from Douala to Yaoundé. I think that was the most dehumanizing part of it, and which, I mean, you know, the Torture Convention talks about cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. We were cuffed on our backs from Douala, you know, in a van, you know, from Douala to Yaoundé with, I mean, police officers, you know, we were escorted, 2 cars, one in front, one behind, and we're in the middle.
Did they tell you why you were cuffed?
No, I mean, how did they have to tell us? You know, Chiruma had made a press conference, 3 ministers had made a press conference claiming that they had gotten the biggest terrorists in the country. So you didn't need to. So, I mean, that was Osama bin Laden, the Cameroonian version. That's what, to them, that's what they thought. They had gotten Osama bin Laden, their own Cameroonian version of Osama bin Laden. I mean, you look at the person that they could rate like Osama bin Laden, it was ridiculous, you know. But yeah, we were cuffed, and so the journey to Yaoundé was really, really, I mean, I felt that we could die. I mean, if you had an accident and you were cuffed, how do you survive, for example? You know, we got to Yaoundé like midnight. They took us to the DGRA, the security, special security investigating unit. And after they asked us a few questions, they hooded us. You know, some of the things that you watch in the movies, they hooded us, took us to our rooms, small rooms, and we slept there. The next morning, they hooded us again to take us to the set where we spent the night. Myself and Fontem were put in the room where Bia's surgeon used to be, Titus Ezwa. Then the next day, we were brought for interrogation. The General Lokobi came to visit us with Bokam, the then head of the gendarmerie.
Jean-Baptiste Bokam.
He came prior to our interrogations, but I think people were worried. So fortunately, they asked us if we had a lawyer, and I said they should call the Muna and Muna law firm. I have a very good relationship with Barrister Bernard Muna, former president of the bar, because we've been involved in activism for a long time. They called, they didn't get him. They did not get anybody. So, but afterwards, Akere came to the office, saw the missed call and called, and I spoke to them. So everybody was calm. At least they knew our whereabouts, because nobody knew where we were taken. The next day, lawyers from FACO division, I was then the president of FACLA, FACO Lawyers Association. They came in from Boya and Limbe, Barrister Toko, Gladys, Barrister Ipe, and a few others. And also lawyers from Yaoundé, Yolande, Dokas, Claude Asira, and the rest came in now to said where we were. At least when they saw us, the message went viral that we were healthy. And then the long legal process, the whole psychological torture, the physical torture started for 8 months. But here we are today, and we say, as they say in Creole, we thank God, thank you. We thank God for being alive.
So when you say physical torture, how were you physically tortured?
Well, I was kept in solitary confinement for 45 days.
Okay.
Without access to any visitor. They came to my room, they searched, they saw a phone. Having a phone in jail, it's like committing murder. So I was kept in solitary confinement for 45 days. The other people that they found things in their rooms were kept for like 20, 25 days. They kept me for 45 days. That was one of the most painful part of my life in jail. But physical torture in the sense that my dad was buried in my absence, and I thought that my lawyers made all efforts to get to government to ensure that I could at least be able to go there. But unfortunately for me, and I think it's a pattern, when it's widespread and systematic, when it's done to break you psychologically and physically, they could not allow me. So I think that was the only day I cried in jail. Because, I mean, I really knew that I would be there to see my dad being buried, and they didn't get me. But I cried in private. Nobody knew I was crying. I'm sure my cellmates, I was kept in a cell with 12 Boko Haram people. My cellmates only knew that my father died when they watched the press review the next Monday morning. because when they saw the press review, they were like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, but you cannot be seen to be crying in public," and there was nothing. So those were instances. We had isolated instances that touched me in jail. But as a fighter, you keep on fighting, you keep on going. You have to keep on the spirit alive because the struggle continues. You have to be fighting. You have to have the moral to be able to fight to their last energy.
So what gave you the strength? How did you survive prison, these harsh conditions?
No, I've been a fighter all through my life. I was born in Kumba in Fiango. I grew up in Great Support in Boya. So I've been a fighter. Generally. I mean, my friends will tell you that I've always been a fighter. I've been a hustler. So, and I think it's in the mind. I'm very strong in my head, in my mind. So I took prison as another part of life. To me, it was a phase. You know, as a boy, I used to read about Wole Soyinka. I used to read about Gani Fawemi, my role model, my idol, my mentor. Gani was jailed at least 50 times under military regimes in Nigeria. And to me, I was living my dream. You know, a young boy who was always wanted to fight for the people. And this is him in jail fighting for the people. What present could God have given me than sending me to jail and doing what I like doing? Going to jail because I believe in my people. I fought against the injustices in the country. So why should I mourn? Why should I be sad? That's why when people visited me in jail, I was always smiling. I was living my dream. My dream to always speak on behalf of my people, to fight for my people. And I watched the press reviews. I saw how our people fought for us. Every day I get up in the morning, at least 20, 30 people will come and visit me in jail. It made me feel that the people were supportive of what we were doing. Can you, Madam Moderator or Coordinator, be sad when you're living your dream? Can you be sad when you're fighting for your people and your people recognize and accept that what you were doing was the right thing? You cannot be. You know, perhaps I have my own way, the things that matter to me, you know, and that was one of the things that I believe in. And so jail was another phase in my life. And that is why I always tell people that if I were to go back there for the same reason, I'll never regret. Going back for the same reason, I would never regret. I'm ready. I'm living a life that if I am supposed to drop dead because I'm fighting for the people, I would not regret anything. If I'm supposed to go back to jail for a just cause, I would not regret what is happening. So that is me, and that's my philosophy in life. And I think my friends and family, everybody has come to accept that that is who Balla is. That is what I will do, and that is what I will always continuously stand for.
So if you were told today again that there is another warrant of arrest for you, you will willingly go back to jail?
I will fly back in Cameroon the next day if I have to. I've been abroad and I hear that there's a warrant, they want to arrest me, and the next day after my trip, I go back, I get back to Balla. I'm like, whatever has to happen, you know, would happen. And I would stay in Cameroon. The fight, you need to take the fight in the doors of the dictator. An 86-year-old man cannot bully me, cannot terrorize me, cannot scare me. Okay, whatever has to happen, because whatever has to happen in life would happen. Life is fated, not so for those who believe in God, who believe in religion. So if it's my own destiny, then so be it. So be it. I will not be able to run away from it. I will not be able to shy away from it. That's why I always said nobody is going to bully me. Nobody would bully me, you know, in doing what I don't want to do. So I'm ready. I live my life as if nothing. Those who know me in Boya, they will tell you. I mean, I go out at night if I want to. I do the things that I want to do because that's who I am. You cannot live in fear. I've conquered fear in my head. I have decided to conquer fear because I think fear, if you don't conquer fear, you cannot survive. So I've conquered fear. The regime knows. That is why I think some of them are like, you know what? This one is a bended tree that cannot be straightened. So let's forget about it.
Great. Thank you very, very much for, all the information you've given us. Yeah, because that's why we like talking to the real people, because, we got a lot of information when you were jailed. We heard you were transported through Loom, but now you've given us the most accurate information, and we very much appreciate that. So the next question I have here for you is, a lot of change with the consortium while you were in jail. Did anyone update you of the dynamics as things evolved while you were in jail? Because I know from some of your press conferences and some of the your press appearances, you stood for federation and preached that. But eventually, by the time you came out of jail, it was the people who were out of jail were talking about independence. Did you get any updates while you were still in jail?
Yeah, no, while I was in jail, at least we followed the media. We bought newspapers, we watched television, we spoke to some of our friends who were in the struggle, and we knew already the creation of SCACUF and things had changed. It had moved from a pro-federalist movement to a clamor for independence, restoration, separation, or secession. No matter what, depending on what angle you are, the way you look at it, it's all a matter of semantics, you know. And I used to speak to some of the leaders, and we disagreed in a very respectful way. I felt the time was not right. I felt it wasn't the best moment, but they were out there and they justified it to me that most of the people were clamoring for restoration of the independence. So, and that is the path that they are taking. So whilst in jail, I already knew that that was the trend. And when I left jail, it was just a confirmation of what some of them had told me. I mean, these are issues that we have disagreed until tomorrow. I still disagree with some of them. But, you know, because being a Democrat also, you're entitled to respect people's opinion. That's why I say it can never be your way or the highway. You can disagree with people in a very manner without being disagreeable and understand the trend. So we are where we are because those who were in control at the time when we went to jail felt that it was necessary to move from pro-federalist movement to a pro-restorationist movement.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So the other question I have for you is, what has become of your former colleagues of the consortium? We know some of them are in jail. We know some of them are abroad, but we know you and Dr. Fontem were released together. What about him? Do you talk to him?
The consortium was the principal officers of the consortium was myself, Dr. Fontem, Tassan Emmanuel, who is in Condemning, Eyambe, Barrister Eyambe, who is also in Condemning, Bobga Harmony, Mr. George Ngwane, who was appointed the Bilingualism Commission. So I stay in touch with all the members of the consortium. The consortium was disbanded. I stay in touch with I try to talk to them once in a while. I am lawyer for Eyambe and Tassan also because I feel like owe them a duty. And there was a time when a group of people dismissed me from the consortium. That's part of the struggle. Some of the people who you could not recognize them during the days of the consortium, but they felt that it was they had to vilify some particular person, me in particular, and they had their meeting. But you know, those things are. I've always said, time is a function of activities. That's what they say in physics. And you would always be vindicated with time, especially if you're doing the right thing. You understand? At times, people will take cosmetic measures. People will take measures to please the crowd because they feel that public opinion might be against you, and they do what they felt. But at the end of the day, at no point in time there was unity in the struggle like during the days of the consortium. I mean, everybody will accept that the consortium gave leadership. It was visionary, it was focused, and it was dedicated. There was no infighting, there was no raising funds. We were fighting for the people. It happened the way it happened. But I have respect for each and every one who has been part of the struggle, who is in the struggle, and who shall be part of the struggle, because it's a phase. You know, from one phase to another. The phase we had to. The biggest achievement of the consortium was reawakening of the consciousness of the Anglophones. You know, we woke up the Anglophone nationalism, and nobody would take that from the consortium. Whoever will write history, you might not like the leaders, but it's a statement of fact, and it's a historical fact that the modern revolution in Cameroon, in the southern Cameroon, was started by the Cameroon Anglophone Civil Society Consortium. As red people have tried to spin things, they've tried to denigrate others, they've tried to distort the facts, but these are historical facts that some people were sleeping, some group of people that created a consortium, woke them up from slumber. And today they vilify some of them, but that is life. That is a process of a revolution. You know, people will come and go. You know, people would be discredited. People will fall by the road. But I always say this is a marathon. It's not the 100 meters. So some of the people who came to vilify others, they're falling off the way. But those who are consistently consistent, who have a vision, they are still relevant to the struggle and they will have a role to play. You just have to rebrand yourself and then try to carve a niche for yourself in the struggle and see how you can play your own role. It might be little, but play your own role in ensuring that our people have a voice, that fighting against injustices is not a one-day event. You know, it's like electioneering, which is a process. Fighting against injustices is a process. So fighting against marginalization is a process. Restoration of the independence of Southern Cameroon or West Cameroon is a process. So each and everyone has a role to play. I mean, basically, I remember when I was in Form 3 in South, they used to talk about division of labor, not so. If we divide labor, if we accept that people have their own talents and their specificity in life, if we respect each other, we would go a long way. But this, I know it all syndrome, this infallibility that it's like Deus ex machina, as they say in Italia, that God comes in the form of a machine. You have a God-sent leader that will solve the problem. It will not work. Okay, we need to accept that there are people who know how to write, there are people who know how to speak, there are people who know how to raise funds. If we accept that and we work with each and every one, we build a team, it will be easier to achieve our goals, our aims, our ambition. But if we think that for me to succeed, I must destroy other people, if we are scared, if we are terrified by people who are more popular than us, who the public believe in their leadership, who are more respected and have legitimacy in the eyes of the people, and we want to bring their reputation into disrepute, then we are not going to go anywhere. We would not head anywhere. But if we work as a team collectively, then I think that lots of things will happen.
Barrister, you have been very, very outspoken in your critique of the Cameroonian government. A government that we know do not take lightly to criticism. And this attitude of yours, you just actually right now you said an 85-year-old man will not shut your mouth.
86.
Yes.
86, yeah. Will not shut your mouth. And you travel the world talking against the Cameroon government, and then you're still in Cameroon walking freely. And because of this, a lot of your critics see it as it's not normal. This man must have been bought by the government. So my next question for you is, have you actually been bought by the government, or has the government ever proposed to give you money?
The question came very late. I thought it would be the first question. I had to give me 200 million. I'm still waiting for whoever gave the 200 million to me. I'm not talking against Mr. Bia. I'm talking against the injustices in the country. Okay, and wherever there is injustice, I'm a human rights crusader. Okay, I believe in the human dignity, and not only about Cameroon. Of recent, I was part of a team that joined a communique against the shutting down of the internet in Zimbabwe. You know, we did same with Chad. When Bobby Wine was arrested in Uganda, we were the first to create a WhatsApp group to fight for his release. So a threat to humanity anywhere in the world, I stand against the regime. I stand with the people. Coming back to Cameroon, you know, one of the finest brain mentor I'd ever met, Batebison, he used to tell me that it's easy to criticize art than to make art, and talk is cheap, you know. So when people get a bit scared, or when people try not to understand who you are, it's easy to make stories. Frundi lives in Cameroon. Doki Michelle lives in Cameroon. Okay.
She was not today.
Yeah, if you watch the television stations on Sundays, most of the people who criticize, they live in Cameroon. And I believe in the Mussolini principle to live one day as a lion than 1,000 years as a lamb. So I will not be scared. I will not be chicken out to leave Cameroon to stay abroad. I will not be. Okay, so buying somebody depends on, like 25 years ago, a senior friend had told me that everybody has a price. Yes, everybody has a price. But some people's prices will be difficult to meet some people's prices, okay? And at no point in time has anybody ever walked to me to want to buy me. And ask yourself this question. I led the consortium. We held Cameroon hostage. I wasn't bought. I went to jail. My father was buried in my absence. They buy me. You know, Wole Soyinka would tell you that the Yoruba god of thunder, they call Ogun, would strike me dead if I do such a thing. Okay? Because it doesn't make sense. The spirit of my father would not be happy with me.
But have you ever been offered? Have you ever been made an offer by the government?
No, it has never been made. These stories about buying, it's not only about physical cash. I read in the press.
Prime Minister.
They had made me Prime Minister. I had replaced Agbor. I had like 4 ministries for me. Unless I am a Superman, I'd had about 4 ministries. Nobody. And I'd said it on record. That I like to serve my country, but I will not serve my country under the current dispensation. Okay? I would not. Because I think that I have my values and principles that this government will not reflect who I am. And buying people, you need to go to people's background also. I heard lots of stories. And those, during the days of the consortium, the other leaders will tell you that it was the same my car that we used to attend the meetings in Bamenda. I foiled the car. Nobody, there was never a GoFundMe. Don't forget the days of the consortium, we never had GoFundMe. I live in the same house that I used to live. I drive the same car, in the same office. Nothing has changed. When I left jail, I went to Ghana. Common Ghana. And I had government bought me to go to Ghana. This is somebody who lived close to 15 years in abroad, who worked in the United Nations. And he went to Ghana. The days of our fathers, they walk from Great Support to Ghana, not so. And they'll buy you a ticket. So it's an attack against the individual, mostly perpetrated by people who were scared about the popularity of this said person. Because I remember whilst I was in jail, one of the leaders called me and was like, he cannot understand why they are out there, people are not listening to them, and people are listening to me, people are taking instructions from me. And I asked him the question, can you ask yourself why it's doing that? In October, between October and January when we were arrested, I was the only frontline leader that had a meeting and met Mancho BBC. I was the only frontline leader that was talking to the people in the diaspora. I'd gone to Bamenda, we went to Bamenda for a meeting. I called the other members. That Mancho and Rene and Co were in the hotel downstairs to see us, and not all of them told me that president, go see that people, the me I know they go. I was the only one who made them. Pandangam for Fongala and Co left Bamenda, came to my house in Boya, and this tries for meetings. So these are things which are factual. These people are alive. They can testify. So when somebody gets up from bed and tries to discredit somebody who has had a pedigree of fighting, in 1999, 2000, I wrote a thesis on self-determination in international law, the case of Southern Cameroon. 1999, 2000. 2002, European Parliament, myself and Ayaba. 2001, with Albert Mukong, we protested in the EU Commission. I have the letters that we wrote. I was the first chair of the Southern Cameroon's European Coordinating Committee. I was a boy. I used to hold meetings with Paluma of blessed memory. When we were doing the celebration of my mother's 10th anniversary, Chief Ayamba, the then chair of the SCNC, was in Bisongabang in my mother's village for the anniversary, my friends were shocked that Chief Ayamba could come there. I remember the All Anglophone Conference in Boya. I was a boy. It was run by the Boya Writers Club, Mr. Ngwane Batebison, Barrister Charles Tako, and Enon Chong from the Cameroon Anglophone movement came from Douala. My mates would tell you, I used to go to BB's house just to watch plates, to hear him talk, to listen to him. So all of a sudden today, because people are tussling, jostling, fighting, positioning for power, everybody says whatever they want to say. You have your right, and I respect your democratic right, your fundamental right to say whatever you want to say. But can you just ensure that whatever you're saying is true? I was in jail, a frontline leader attests to the fact that he spoke to me, and I confirmed that I was going to be appointed. And the person passes off for a leader, an activist. And I asked myself, what kind of leader is that who spends his or her time? People created ghost pages on Facebook to attack, to denigrate, to bring my image into disrepute. And some of them were surrogates of some of the leaders. But as an exponent of the Michel's principle that when they go low, you go high, I vowed to myself that I'll never respond. I would never criticize any other person in public. I would call you behind the scene, have a discussion with you. Some of them are out. Some of them today, they still get to me. They need one or two favors. And I try to the best of my ability to do what I can do. Because you leave vengeance to God. Okay? You leave it to God to take his decision. And that, I think that's the spirit that is keeping me alive. I'm sure that's the spirit that keeps me getting in and out of the country. Because I think that some of the people know that fundamentally, I don't mean any harm. I just want the best for my people. I want the best for the country. I want the best for the marginalized people without any personal interest or any personal gains. And I think that's my mantra.
Okay, great. Yeah. So thank you, Barrister. Now that you brought up some of the activities in the early 2000s, as far back as even the EACCs of the past. So we have a question here. Can you explain to us why over time, we know that you took part in a protest at the European Unions in the early 2000s. And more recently, or let's say before you were jailed, you were a very staunch federalist. But more recently, over the past few months, you've been talking more about a referendum. How can you account for this dynamism? So you seem to be flip-flopping positions over time.
I've never flip-flopped. I'm a die-hard federalist. I religiously believe in it. And nobody will bully me to change my position. But I'm a human being. I'm not a flat character. Stereotypes don't change positions. But I've still not changed my position. If you read the documents during the days of the consortium, go back to the documents of the consortium. The consortium talked about a federation. The thing is that most of the people don't even go back to read the documents. The consortium talked about a referendum. But calling doesn't. It's still trying to find a solution how we can come out from this political logjam that we are facing. Okay, how do we come out from the current situation where people are being killed, houses are being burned, young men are being jailed? What can we do to find a solution? You know, but as I say also to my friends in the separatist movement, and I tell them, if you give me independence today, I will take it. I will not say no. Don't get me wrong. But I will not get it after people being killed. That's my statement. I am not somebody who is in support of people being killed. But I am a federalist because I believe that it would be a middle position between the restorationists and those who believe in the unity state. And also it reflects the diversity, the unity and diversity of the people. Some will disagree with me, some will insult me, and I understand that. But at least I respect the opinions of those who are clamoring for separation. That is why I attended the Washington conference. I mean, I participated on through Zoom for like 2 hours. Because I still think that separation, independence, or federation is an end goal. But we still have lots of things in common. The humanitarian catastrophe. We have about 170 villages that have been burned, more than 500,000 people internally displaced, 50,000 in Nigeria, more than 800,000 in jail. Whether you are a separatist or you are a federalist, those things touch and concern you. Can we just focus on the things which matter and wait for the end goal afterwards? You know, we muddy the water when we profile people. He's a federalist, he's a separatist, I cannot talk to him. No. We are all Cameroonians. We are all Southern Cameroonians. Nobody has a vested interest in the Southern Cameroons more than the other. It's not because you clamor for separation, you think you are more Southern Cameroonian than the other. Or it's not because you clamor for federation, you think you're more than. No. Those who clamor for the unitary state who are Southern Cameroonians, they also have a right. And we must respect it. Unless we are in North Korea, where you have a supreme leader who thinks for all of us, who believes that it's either his way or the highway. I am a federalist. I believe that the federation would be the panacea to the problems that we face in the country. You look at the federal countries in the world, you see how they move, and it's more of respect of the federal constitution, respect of the people, see how you can have separation of powers, see how you can have devolution of powers, and in terms of world distribution, that is something which is very important also. So asking for a referendum doesn't mean Agbor Balla is a separatist, okay? But equally, if you give me independence today, doesn't mean I would say no, okay? I would not say no. But I will not sit and watch young men being slaughtered, being deceived, being killed. I will not appreciate, I will not see. That's why I'm fighting against it. You know, I'm fighting against the current war from both parties. The human rights violations, which are widespread and systematic by both parties. These are our children, they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're our parents being killed. We have to say something. Don't forget the never again in Rwanda. And it's not because your family is not concerned. Madam Coordinator, you're from Germany. You know the famous German philosopher. They came for the Jews. I was no Jew, so I did nothing. They came for the Catholics. I was no Catholic. They came for the communists. I was no communist, so I did nothing. When they came for me, there was nobody to speak for me.
Yeah.
We have to speak out. We have to condemn violence in all shape and form, no matter who is perpetrating it, be it my brother or my enemy, because tomorrow it will haunt you. And I think that if we rise up as a people, we will be able to bring an end to the dictatorship. If we fight with one voice as one man, the dictator, Mr. Biya, will not be able to overrun all 25 million Cameroon. And even though the frontline leaders, if we speak with one voice, we would achieve a lot. The international community will have more respect for us. But if we spend each and every day criticizing, castigating, satirizing, and lampooning each other, we become a laughing stock in the international community.
Yeah.
It takes us nowhere.
So talking about federation, what form of federation are you vouching for? Because you have people who are talking with 2 states, some are 4 states, some are 10 states federation.
I'm a chief apostle of a 2-state federation. And okay. If you go back also, and I go back to our documents, the Common Law Lawyers Conference in Bamenda and in Boya, the consortium documents, we talked about the 2-state federation. That's why I said I've been consistent with regards to that. And if you read my thesis in 1999-2000, which was serialized in the then Post newspaper in 2001, I said a federation would be a panacea for the situation in Cameroon. That is 1999. And I still stand my grounds and believe that a 2-state federation would help in solving the problems in this country. I have my friends who are for a 10-state, and I respect their opinion also. But I believe that between separation and a unitary state, a 2-state federation would address the issues of marginalization that we face, the cultural erosion, you know, or some people say the cultural genocide of the Anglo-Saxon culture. It would help a lot. It would take us a long way. Because also, we didn't start the crisis to end up having a 10 state where governors are being appointed by the president. I think we've passed that stage. So a two-state federation, in my humble opinion, which I might be wrong. I don't get it because I don't have monopoly of knowledge. I might be wrong. But I believe that a two-state federation would go a long way in finding a solution, a long-lasting solution to the problems that we are facing.
And talking of referendum, if we, the people of Cameroon, cannot push the government to issue a referendum, what are the chances of a UN-sponsored referendum in Cameroon?
Realistically, for the time being, it's very difficult. If you look at the crisis in Cameroon vis-a-vis what is happening in the other parts of the world, and the media coverage, you would understand that it's not really a priority. And if you look at the Charter of the United Nations, I think in Article 55 and 56, when it talks about when there is a threat to world peace and security, you know, they'll need for an intervention, a peacekeeping mission. I know we're not there. It's a work in progress. Okay, we need to put pressure on the government. We need to put pressure, mount pressure on the international community to see the need of finding a solution to the crisis. And if one way could be a referendum is not an end in itself, okay? We could still have a negotiated settlement, a dialogue. It could be a process. Don't forget, I hear most people talk about South Sudan. Go back to the joint box, okay? South Sudan went through a federation. They had a federation. They had a vice president. And after 5 years, that's when they had a referendum, whether the people wanted their independence or they wanted to stay. So people sided. I'm like, no. So it could also be a phase. We could also go through that kind of phase. But I think that a referendum might not be happening tomorrow. But for the time being, we need to find a way to come to a negotiating table, to try to discuss, to try to look each other across the face. We are talking over each other. We need to sit eyeball to eyeball and address the 57 years of marginalization or oppression by the La République du Cameroun on the people of the Southern Cameroon. But we need to do it in a friendly and a brotherly and a sisterly manner, and we address these problems and we see how we can go forward. We see what solutions. They could be short term, they could be medium term, and they could be long term. Okay, but it's a problem that is solvable. You know, we should not be wasting people's lives, which to me, it's very unfortunate, you know. So the international community has to do something, but also we Cameroonians, you know, we Southern Cameroonians, the La République people have to sit down and start finding a solution. Because at the end of the day, the conflict will end on a negotiating or a dialogue table. That's where it always ends. So the earlier we get on that table and find a solution, the better for people who are losing their source of income, kids who are not going to school, and young men who are being killed every day.
Okay, thank you very much. So before we go to the next question, I have a follow-up question from one of your earlier comments. I'm going to try to play a short video of one of the interviews you gave in late 2016 before asking the question. So just bear with me for a second.
When you say that we cannot have a federal structure because we are going to, I'm telling you that sitting here today, it might not be my lifetime. It might not. No, excuse me. Excuse me. It might not be in my lifetime. We shall get the federal structure. When you don't accept the federal structure, the day you will come on the table to discuss about federalism, people will say we don't want it any longer. We have a right to self-determination.
Okay, so I hope, yeah, the volume was not the best, but I hope you know where I'm heading to. So the question is, so this was actually a question that was sent by one of our member of our audience, and they sent it and attached the video. So that question is, you had predicted everything that is happening. So some believe that you had predicted the current state of affairs, but yet, even though you had foreseen this, you are dragging your feet now. Is that a fair accusation?
It's not fair. I said we would have a federation. It might not be in my lifetime. And that, today you don't want to talk about the federation. When you would come to talk about it, people would not be ready for it. And that is a fact. But not being ready for it does not necessarily mean that I meant that people will not talk about it. People will not sit and have a discussion about it. Okay? It shows that we had a vision already, because as the leader of the consortium, I was talking to people and I knew people's frustrations. The same frustration exists today. That is why there is a need to sit and talk. And to me, what I was urging is discuss the issues. There is no taboo topic. And there is no taboo topic about separation, independence. They have to discuss it. So we have to sit. And I'd said even when I left jail, that the government will have to talk to everybody, even those who are calling for separation. They'll have to sit on the table and discuss. To me, is the tabooization of a particular topic, that you cannot discuss federation or you cannot discuss separation or independence. And I said, no, we shall discuss it. We shall sit on the table and talk about it. The government doesn't have a choice. It doesn't depend on them. It depends on the people. It depends on the will of the people. If the people are determined that these issues will be discussed, they would be discussed. Don't forget that the president is there for the people and not the reverse. You know, this dictatorship that people think that he's a supreme leader, and no, they would have to sit and talk to the people. They would talk to the federalists, they would talk to the separatists, they would talk to those who believe in the unitary system. They don't have a choice. And that is what I meant. And that is the position I still hold. Some people read it to mean that I said there will be separation. Yes, but it doesn't still mean that I said I would be clamoring for it. To me, it's more of the dialogue, sitting with everybody on the table. And let us put the positions on the table. And if the separatists are the majority, so be it. It's a democracy. What are you going to do? You don't have a choice. If the majority of the people believe that separation is their panacea, you have to accept it. If they believe that is federation, you have to accept it. But nobody should have a horsewhip. You understand? It cannot be voting through horsewhip. It cannot be a decision by bullying, by inciting violence, by sabotaging people, by blackmailing people. And I say no to that. If it's free and fair, the wishes of the people, we have to respect it. That's democracy. Fela will call it democracy or crazy demonstration, but so be it. What would the majority people want? If they want independence, we have to accept it. If they want federation, we have to accept it and respect the voices of the majority.
Great. Okay, thank you. So this other question had to come earlier before this discussion. It was tagged with the question on whether you've ever received any money from the government. But because you brought up your discussions on the fight for Southern Cameroon, maybe independence or autonomy in the early 2000s, so we asked the other question. So the question was, look, you were in jail for about 8 months, not working at that time. You weren't generating any income because your law firm was shut down. But shortly after your release, and I believe for the past 1.5 years, you've been making several trips, international trips. How do you fund these trips if the government didn't give you money?
Mr. Moderator, I used to work in an organization that I made at least $12,000 a month. It's not something that you have to say in public. I used to work in an organization that I made at least $12,000 a month. I think we need to show respect to people. Okay? Not trying to sound arrogant. Ask the people who visited my house prior to jail. I have an office which has 28 apartments uncompleted. It shows the kind of person that I am. But the ground floor where my office is functioning. Okay? I have family. I have friends who believe in me, who support my vision. They don't write on Facebook. I have friends who buy me business class ticket at times to travel. because they see in me a visionary and a leader that I've long yearned for. I had savings. Ask yourself the question. Prior to my arrest, 2016, I was out of Cameroon at least 5 times. The last was a visit that we did, the African Bar to Burundi. And don't forget, I'm the vice president of the African Bar Association for Central Africa.
Yeah.
Meaning that by dint of that, I have to be traveling and attending meetings. So, what do you expect? Because I always tell people, you need to know somebody, do a bit of research on who the person is. I have people, friends and family who I have supported a lot. I have children in Belgium, I call them my children, who would run the extra lane. Because in my house in Brussels, I used to have 13 people living with me in my student room. They are still alive. They can testify. I have children all over the world who, because of what I did to them, in my regular life, they feel that they can be supportive. I'll tell you a story. I met this young man in a restaurant in Yaoundé. I went to a Mami Put in Yaoundé. When I'm in Yaoundé, I like to go and eat my achu, my eru, you know, those kind of technical restaurants where
I know.
I like my Nigerian draw soup, ogbono, mixed with bitters. I went to school in Lagos, so you can understand. I met this young man. So Douglas Achingale took me to the restaurant to eat. By the time we got there, we ate. One, somebody had paid the bill for the food, somebody paid for the drinks. Then there was this young man who came and sat by me, and it was like, well, somebody just told him I was the one, and he wanted my number. When you look at the young man, one thing that he came by you just wanted to beg you money. And I gave him my number. That young man transferred me mobile money for 2,000. Water dropped out from my eyes, thanking me for what I've been doing. 2,000 francs CFA. That 2,000 was more than 2 million given to me by somebody. There are people like that. I have his name saved on my phone. We communicate. There are people like that. I stop by in Douala to do something. Somebody is driving, stops. Are you Agbor Balla? Say yes. Thank you for what you're doing. Gave me 10,000 to buy for. I went for a funeral in Bamenda. My friend Gwa Adrian's father died. People who I am supposed to be more comfortable financially than them. He gave me money to buy for. In appreciation of what we are doing. So there are people out there, they don't shout, they don't make noise, but they are supportive. And these are the people who give me the strength and the energy. Somebody would ask me, Balla, how do you cope? You don't sleep. You're always on the road. You are either visiting an ITP camp, you're either going to Nigeria for the refugees, you're doing advocacy. I said, I will not sleep until my people sleep. But those people who send me messages at night, prayers, praying for me, thanking me, stopping by the route, stopping me on the way to say thank you, to have a picture with you, it gives me the energy to continue what I'm doing. And I created the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights in 1988. That was a human rights organization. I didn't have any means, but it's my passion for social justice. Don't forget, I ran in a magazine, New Brew magazine, for like 2 years. A far left magazine. I invested about 5 million in that magazine and I didn't make anything. But it was my passion. So there are lots of things. I used to have a football club, AS Boya. I was the president of AS Boya. At 23, I had a third division team. 23 years old, I had a third division team, AS Boya. Prior to that, in my 18, 19, I was president of Sampdoria. Go to Great Support, go to Boya and ask. It didn't start today. There are people who are willing to sacrifice, who are ready to help humanity. It's because we lived in a society where everybody thinks that everybody is driven by money. No. Between being a millionaire and winning a Nobel laureate, I would take a Nobel laureate anytime, any day you give it to me. Because that's my passion. That's what I want to be remembered for. I don't want to be remembered as a multimillionaire. I don't. I mean, where I grew up and where I am today, I've made strides. Okay? I think I will leave something for my daughters. To me, that's enough. No. To me, that's enough. I will not leave them 4 houses. I don't have the means because to me, I don't believe in those things. And they start fighting over property and going to court and killing each other and insulting other, and lawyers are making monies over their head. No. I will not do that. The value system, the legacy for posterity. Nobody thinks about Rockefeller as a millionaire. They'll remember him for what he did. People would remember Bill Gates for the lives that he touched. And I think I want to be remembered for the lives that I touched, not for how much that I made. So I can vouch, I can assure you, I reiterate, and I stand my grounds. I want anybody to challenge me to prove the contrary, that I took a dime from this government. I've said things after jail worse than things prior to jail. If I had taken a dime from this government, I would have been killed. Don't forget, I was lawyer for Maurice Kamto, the opposition leader, on pro bono. I'm lawyer for our brothers in Nkongho on pro bono. I fly Cameroon, stay in a hotel, defend my clients, and go back on my budget. And for those who might not know how the world of the civil society, at times also some of the people who invite you because they think that you have something to offer. Some of these international organizations, they buy you a ticket because they think that you're a resource person.
Yeah.
Believe in what you're saying.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Barrister. Thank you. So I think it's time we move on to the current situation in Cameroon.
I thought you're about to liberate me.
No, Barrister, not yet.
The solutions.
Not yet. We still need.
we need you to give the solution. So we still
need a lot from you. The people are still out there listening to you.
When people heard you were coming, they sent like 100 questions, and they knew that you were going to talk directly.
And if I was charging them, then I'll be a millionaire. But I don't.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's right.
Charging them, I'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, we'll definitely let them know that everything you are doing today is for free, and we very much appreciate that.
And that's one thing we forgot to tell the audience. All the questions that we're asking Barrister are right now. We didn't send him questions, so he didn't prepare for anything. You know, this is an authentic interview with Barrister.
Yeah. And Mbole, before you continue with the question, I will with your next question, I would like to let the audience that today's debate Cameroon perspective was sponsored by Nami Naturals. Nami is N-A-M-E, like name, and Naturals, which is a hair product. By the end of the show, I will give you more information on that. I will give you the website and how you can find the products. So, Mbole.
Thank you. What did Barrister do? Okay, there.
Right here.
So, Barrister, please, can you tell us exactly what is the current affairs in English Cameroon? And please put into perspective the recent happenings with Michel Ndoki and...
what is happening, there is an ongoing conflict in Cameroon, in the southwest and the northwest region. There is still debate in the international humanitarian community whether or not is a war going on. We've contacted some experts in humanitarian law. They still don't believe that it's a war. They've still not given us a definition of what is going on as a war. Whether it's an armed conflict, a non-international armed conflict. So, but serious crimes are being committed because also there's a debate whether they are crimes against humanity, which is an attack against a civilian population, which should be widespread or systematic. The crimes are basically, they are clearly widespread or systematic, but for the time being, the people have not, the international community have not accepted that crimes against humanity are being committed. But I say serious crimes are being committed. For argument purposes, let's say serious crimes. This has led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, 500,000 internally displaced persons. Schools have been burned down, close to 800 people still currently in detention, more than 50,000 in refugee camps. Economic life has been affected. We've had people whose hands have been chopped off. CDC on its knees. I mean, the insecurity is running riot. Kidnapping is now the order of the day. People are settling scores. People are asking for ransom. It's general chaos. It's general chaos, and nobody really has the magic wand to find a solution. So that's a picture of what is going on, and we are hoping that somehow we can find a long-lasting solution through a dialogue or a negotiated settlement. With regards to Cameroon, there's what happened today in Douala and Yaoundé. The members of the Camtos party, the MRC, they decided they wanted to go to the street talking about the electoral holdup, and this led to serious attacks in Douala and in Yaoundé. You saw, some of you have seen the pictures that I posted on Facebook. Michelle Ndoki, I spoke to her while she was in hospital about to undergo the operation. And Jamin Celestin also, who used to be a councillor with the SDF and resigned and joined MRC, and others were brutally attacked. These were peaceful protesters, non-violent protesters, but we are in a country where they don't respect people. Everything is done to preserve their power. Everything is done to preserve Mr. Biya in power. So they will shoot and kill anybody who they feel is a threat to Mr. Biya. So that is the current situation on the ground as we speak.
Okay, so the next question we have about the current situation actually is about what is your take on the no school strategy in Anglophone Cameroon? We know in around August 2017, you actually came out and requested for schools to resume, and that resulted to a lot of name calling. So what is your current take on that?
My position has never changed. Kids have to go to school. Let's not pretend. What kind of future are we building for Southern Cameroon's kids are not going to school? I said it. I mean, the whole school boycott was a short-term measure. It was never long-term. I mean, everybody in the consortium would acknowledge the fact that it was a short-term measure. I understand people have argued that what about those who are living in the bushes? I understand the situation, but a few that can go to school, rather than have an illiterate or an uneducated population of 4 million, you can reduce it by 1 million at least. We need to. These kids not going to school, it leads to other problems. And those of us who live back home will feel the pinch. Okay? The kids, we need to find a way. And that's what I said when I went to England, that leadership has to find a way to continue with the struggle, but whilst encouraging kids to go to school. You cannot build a strategy strictly on kids not going to school. It doesn't work. I mean, if you get to a brick wall, you have to change. That's how leaders, that's why we have leaders. They have to think. They have to think for us and try to provide solutions. So children have to go to school. I mean, I worked in Afghanistan, and kids were going to school during the war. Kids in Syria go to school. You understand? I understand that the security situation is not the best, but in places that they can go to school, let them go. Okay, so we can also encourage humanitarian agents to help create schools in IDP camps. I have had meetings with various international organizations and donors who are in the country. They are ready to support schooling in the IDP camps, not schooling controlled by the government, but trying to create everything. And what is education? It could be formal or informal kind of education. You could still open a handicraft center to be training kids, but to say children cannot go to school, I mean, look at the UNICEF report, look at UNESCO report, look at Human Rights Watch. I've spoken to every diplomat in the country, the UN agency, and nobody understands it. To me, it doesn't win us friends in the struggle. It makes enemies, It's not helpful for us to say kids should not go to school. You know, we find a way to continue the pressure. The struggle continues, but let us also ensure that our children should go back to school. Because even if we have independence tomorrow, who are those who are going to lead the country? Where would be these professionals? I hear some people say the education, what kind of education? The same people who have this education that they are using today, they are using the language that they studied in school to be able to speak. And they're telling us that kids will not go to school. And let's not pretend. Those who have money, their kids have been shipped either abroad or out of the Southwest and Northwest. The people who are suffering are those who cannot afford it. I know people, they shout on social media, they go, their kids are going to school in Douala. And for those of us who know the Anglophone Cameroon, education was our biggest export, not even CDC. We had the schools, the Sase, the Baptiste, the Seika, the lot. That was something that we were francophonizing, we were anglophonizing francophone through our schools. They came. By the time they left, they had imbibed our culture. They spoke our language. They understood us better. This was the generation that would change things for us in Cameroon. But today our kids are being francophonized. We send them to East Cameroon now to study. They think in French. They speak in French. They act like they're francophones. We are losing it. We are losing it. The Sases, the Baptistes, they cannot survive any longer. And the Lycée Leclerc, the francophone schools in Douala, they are now charging huge sums of money to our people to come and pay when we don't even have money. How helpful is that to the struggle? How can you have a struggle where our own people are the ones suffering, not going to school? We need to find a solution. The kids have to go to school. I don't know what they have to do, but I think leadership has to find a solution and have a general meeting to say, okay, fine, we would continue the pressure, but let us allow children to go to school. There's no justification for kids not to go to school.
Okay, thank you, Barrister. Talking about kids, we have seen videos with the Amber soldiers, and there are some of these videos that you see kids as young as maybe 10, 11 years, you know, holding guns and stuff. So how do we stop arms from getting into the hands of children and consequently breeding child soldiers?
Well, I mean, the use of child soldiers was punished at the Special Court for Sierra Leone. I happened to work there at the time, and which was confirmed in the Lubanga case at the ICC. It is condemnable from all sides, okay? Kids are not supposed to be involved in war. So whether they are kids fighting for the restoration of a government, it's something which is condemnable. I saw a video, and in that video I said purportedly, because we don't know whether it was a video that was state managed, but we need to, and all the leaders of the factions or the various groups have to be responsible, have to ensure that kids are not, because that is a recipe for international prosecution. And everybody should know international humanitarian law would not accept that. And your argument will not be that you are fighting a just war, okay? In Sierra Leone, even those who fought on behalf of the state, they too were tried. The Civil Defense Forces, CDF. So it's something which is condemnable. I mean, kids are not supposed to be fighting. Let adults fight the war and allow kids. These kids are supposed to be in school and not holding guns and giving them drugs to kill people.
Okay. So what do you think about the kidnappings, mutilation, burning down, and destruction of infrastructure that's going on?
I personally condemn it. These are war crimes and crimes against humanity. If we argue that they are not, they are serious crimes, okay? Mutilating people, it flies in the face of humanity. These are appalling things that we have to criticize, and people do videos on it. What is the added value of kidnapping people, and who are those being kidnapped? Every 10 person kidnapped is a Southern Cameroonians. So what is the essence of it? How does it help the struggle? I know criminal gangs have gotten involved in it. You know, you cannot really differentiate who is a real fighter for restoration and who are thieves. So also leadership has to find a way to bring order in the struggle, because it is losing legitimacy in the eyes of the people. Why do you mutilate people's body? Why do you cut off the feet or hands of of CDC workers. How is that helpful? These people have families to support. You might say they should not go to work. What is the alternative? What are you providing them to survive? The human instinct is to provide for the family. What are you giving as an alternative? And why don't you take control of CDC? You understand? And ensure that those people still work and you make the money and you sponsor the struggle. Why do you want to burn those infrastructures? Why do you want to cripple the economy? And if we have independence, are we not going to need CDC? To me, it beats my imagination for us to be thinking about doing some of those things.
Yeah. So this is just a follow-up question from that. So how will you counsel some of these people? I mean, some people think that the Ambazonian fighters are carrying out some of the worst atrocities. On one hand, on the other hand, it is also thought that the Cameroon military is also committing the same degree of atrocity. So who is supposed to be responsible?
No, the government has also a duty to protect. Okay, so and they're supposedly trained officers. So the standards expected from them is higher. I mean, I'm not justifying the fact that other arms groups also should perpetrate crimes. I condemn crimes across the board. I don't care who condemns. I mean, killing is wrong. Who does it? It cannot be justified. Burning down a building is wrong. I don't care whatever somebody spins it. Okay? So we condemn it. I know that the onus is on government, to ensure, because most of the mass killings also have been done by government. Let's be honest. Also, the burning down of villages, of 178 villages, was done by government, not by the separatists. We have to condemn it. But equally also, when the separatists behead people and they show it on they do a picture on it, we have to condemn it. No normal person, no matter where you stand. I think at times the beheading is even embarrassing the leadership of the struggle. They might not say it in public, but in private, nobody supports it, because also it puts us at loggerheads with the international community, because we need to win the moral battle. We need to win the international, the media campaign. The war is about propaganda. But if I remember when I was presenting our case at the Human Rights Council in Geneva, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs said some of the things that, I mean, those who believe in separation, who were there, they realized that he was making strong statements. We had to counter, but we can do that. It can make life easy for those of us doing advocacy if our people don't involve themselves in such heinous crimes also.
So, just one question: what do you think about the Republic of Ambazonia? Do you think it's legitimate? Do you think it's hurting the struggle? Do you think it's hurting the fight for fairness and for fairness of the people of Anglophone Cameroon?
I am a Southern Cameroonian, West Cameroonian nomenclature person, and I respect people who believe in separation. But I personally think that it's not helpful. An armed struggle has muddied the water, and some of the gains that we've made we are losing it, because whatever you want to argue, government will tell you that it's an armed struggle they're fighting against. You understand? So personally, to me, I don't believe in it. For the time being, I don't believe in it. I still believe that we can find a peaceful solution to the situation. Yes, there are instances where it's clearly self-defense. The people want to defend themselves, but also I think we've taken it to a level where it's not proportional. You understand? So that is my take on it. I believe that we can have a federation. I believe that we can find a solution. I believe that people can live together, unity in diversity, while respecting the culture, the specificity of the others. And to me, that's what I'm fighting for. That is what I stand for. That's why I believe. That's what I believe in. People might disagree with me, but I think that they have a right to respect my positions and my opinions on some of these things also.
So if you say you think it's hurting the struggle and you are for federation, but you have been heard in interview calling Sisiko Ayoktabe the president, our president, how does that justify your position?
No, he's the president of the interim government. It's a title that he is, and I give it to him. And I think it's just kind of mutual respect. I have people in the separatist movement who call me president. Not so. I have people in the separatist movement today. They still address me personally. I think it's just to give to Caesar what Caesar. You understand? I might not believe in something. I don't believe in Hamas, but I will call the leader of Hamas. If he's a president, I'll call him a president. Okay, because I think that also our struggle should be built on respect, respecting others. You know, and when you respect people, you win their confidence. You can sit and have a discussion with them. You understand? Because at the end of the day, we will need to sit on a table and have a discussion. We will need to sit on a table and find a solution. And when you show respect to the other, you know, you earn their respect. It's easy for you to sit on the table and have a proper discussion.
Okay, great. So we are moving to the next section. We believe this is the most important section. So sorry, Barrister, we've exhausted your energy.
We're supposed to be running, closing it now, not so.
Yeah, so we are now in the solution session. So that's why we put this almost the last. And then after the solution session, we have one more thing we'll discuss, which is very important to you. Most the humanitarian activities carried out by your organization, the Center of Human Rights and Human Rights. So the next question we have here is, you've been invited to speak in different places in the world on the Anglophone crisis, or maybe not. You've recently spoken in the Canadian Parliament. You've spoken with the Canadian at the Canadian Law Society, the German Parliament, and I think a few days ago at the U.S. Embassy. So, what do you tell? Why do these people keep on inviting you? What do you tell them, and what is the outcome of all your discussions with them?
I don't know why they keep on inviting me. That I cannot answer. You ask them because they send me the invitation. I honor it. I respect it. But I think that they see me as somebody who's trying to find a solution, to work for peace, to work for justice in the country. So we're finding a solution. And it's one message. Let us try to find a solution. Let us sit down and talk. Let us address the problem. Let us get into the root cause of the problem and find a solution. The bloodshed, the bloodbath, it's enough. We need to put an end to it. And that is the message. You know, talk to the leaders of the separatist movement, talk to Cameroonians across the board, talk to Southern Cameroonians across the board, get them sit on a table and find a solution. To me, that is it. And that is a message that I've consistently said everywhere I've gone, everybody I've met, drawn the attention of the humanitarian catastrophe, that intervention is needed to find a solution. The humanitarian officers also, they argue that they need safe passages, that we need to ensure that those who have arms provide them safe passage so that we can find a solution. That is the message that I've been giving to each and every one of them.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, Mboli, maybe I go before you go with the next question. So in your opinion, how best do we convince the people, or maybe I don't know if it's the fighters, the people convince the government, or maybe you opinion leaders to come to the table and dialogue with its citizens? Because
continue.
Yeah, because everything which is happening, it's the entire country which is losing. The government is killing its people, and the fighters are also killing the same people from the same country.
I think it's a long process. They'll probably have to start talking to those who are lower in the chain of command, trying to see how they can find a solution. I remember during the days of when I was in Afghanistan during the Taliban days, you watch on TV, they will say they are not negotiating with terrorists, but in the evening, documents will be done where Taliban and some other UN officers will be having meetings to find a solution. I think that that's what has to be done. You know, the leaders have their responsibility. The government has a bigger responsibility also. Show good faith. You know, show good faith by trying to see how you can be genuine in finding a solution. And even if it means withdrawing, calling for a ceasefire, you know, calling for a truce and try to talk to the people, not through intimidating them to throw up their arms, to drop their arms and come, you know, you are talking as if you're talking to kids, you understand? So try to have an impartial body, you know, that can at least, like the church, you know, that can intervene in broken peace or mediating between the two parties. To me, that's what has to be done.
Okay.
So Barrister, what do you think will be the quickest and most appropriate solution to the ongoing conflict?
If you ask me, I would advise government to release the leaders who are in jail and let them try to engage in a peaceful process. I mean, that would win the minds and hearts of the people to create an enabling environment for them to start talking. Some of the leaders in jail really have the legitimacy of the people. I don't for them. They have the people believing in some of them. So I think it will help. I am not. I'm speaking like an opinion leader. You understand? Some of them are really, really in control of things. I think that Siseko has, so across the board, a lot of people accept him as somebody who can help in finding a solution. So we use them and then try to see how we can engage them in talking and trying to find a solution to what's going on.
Okay, so we'll go to some of the activities you have been doing to help the people. So could you tell us about the humanitarian situation in the Southwest and Northwest regions and how your organization is assisting people suffering from the crisis? So maybe you start with the first part.
Well, yeah, the center was created in 2005. Just want to give you a background. As a result of, these were African students who were studying in the University of Notre Dame, Indiana, in the US. All of us were doing human rights law, and we felt that there was a need to have an organization, a continental organization that would protect and promote human rights and democracy in the continent. And we created Center for Human Rights and Democracy with Cameroon approved to be the head office. We have an office in Kenya and in Sierra Leone. For the past years or two, we've been focusing on the crisis because it is taking part of our lives and especially my involvement also in the struggle. We have a humanitarian component that is doing a lot of work in terms of doing an assessment for food and non-food items to those who have been victims of the crisis, especially the IDPs, and also supporting the refugees, but also providing legal assistance to those who cannot afford lawyers, pro bono, providing advice, and also psychological support and counseling, and also medical support. We're in partnership with a couple of doctors who try to provide medical support. We are in partnership with a couple of lawyers. Barrister Agbor was in the office last week. We had a meeting. She's part of our legal aid team. She came to Boya also to go to the prison to see some of those who have been detained who don't have lawyers. So we felt that it was necessary for us to bring some of the lawyers together under the canopy of our center to be able to provide legal aid and legal support. The situation is very dire. We also try to raise funds for people who are victims of the crisis who would not have been able to do it. Of recent, we just raising funds for this little child who was operated, and I want to seize this opportunity also to thank those who have been very supportive. I know Lesser USA sent $500 to our office to try to help the medical bills of the child, and also people like NGIO and other friends who will be supportive. So what we also try to do is that we use the profile of the organization to draw attention of some of these cases. When we raise it, we put it out there on social media. Some people go directly and support the family, which is also appreciated, But at least what we try to do is we raise the profile of what is going on. We have women who are undergoing, they are getting to deliver the delivery. We try to support them. Our office in Bamenda also is doing a wonderful job. We just opened a Bamenda office. We organize workshops, conferences to talk about hate speech. Hate speech is something which we have to curtail because I think the violence also is being incited via hate speech. We also encourage women to get involved more in politics, and those in the IDP camps, what kind of alternative form of education they can have, how they can learn some trade to be important, And then normally we do the normal civil and political advocacy. We are working on a human rights report, which I think would really, really be good with the Wallenberg Institute in Canada, in Montreal. So it will be like the first major report coming from an indigenous organization. And we felt that after our role in the crisis from 2016 to date, we need to have a report that also comes from one of our organizations, the local organization. So the center has been working on that report for 2 years, and it will be a joint report with the Wallenberg Institute in Canada. Hopefully, it will raise the profile of the situation also. and not to talk about the advocacy that we are doing. You know, all these things is part of the activities of the center. It's part of to draw the attention of the international community. And as we keep on doing, we keep on having the respect and the acceptance. In May, we'll be addressing the Oslo Forum on human rights. The Oslo Forum is for human rights and democracy. It's like the Davos for the economic.
Economy. Yeah. Okay.
I've been invited to address the forum in May. You know, so these are the kind of things that. What am I going to say? I'm going to raise the profile of the crisis in Cameroon and talk about it. So to me, that's the essential thing, just to raise the profile. Talk about it. The center is doing a wonderful job with the limited means. The staff of the center, I might be the face, but I think that the staff behind the scene, they are doing an enormous job. The reporting. I don't think there's any other organization in Cameroon that reports on the atrocities in the Southwest and the Northwest. That is clear. Go to our Facebook page. Go to my Facebook page. We report it. We monitor. We investigate at the same time. But unfortunately, because we are not in this fundraising and GoFundMe kind of thing, it hinders the progress of what. And I think some of my staff members, I feel bad for them because I always insist on them that we are not in this money making, raising funds. If people want to support us, they can support us, but we are not in this. It's a passion, it's a sacrifice that you have to do. It's your own way of contributing to humanity.
Yeah, so, sorry, just before you continue in that line, so how can the audience assist? Is there any way that willful people can donate to your organization? I mean, you already mentioned that you don't do GoFundMe, but is there any way that if someone is really interested in maybe some contribution or a donation, they can do it?
Yes, a few friends, and I always thank the wonderful friends and fans who have been supportive. We have a PayPal account, chrda@chrda.org. CHRDA, Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, that's CHRDA at CHRDA. We have a Cash App, which is the $ CHRDA Africa.
Okay.
That's then we also have mobile money and Orange Money account where people can.
And some of that information is also on your website.
Yes, some is on our website, some is on our Facebook page. Yeah.
Okay. That is very useful information. We have so many questions for you. I know we've taken over 2 hours, 2.5 hours of your time, and we sincerely apologize.
I know time on earth is limited, so
and especially for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So Mbole had like 1.5 questions for you about the current situation in Cameroon. At least you should talk something about it. I think Mbole had a question, just 1 or 2 questions.
No, I don't have any question anymore on the current situation.
Okay, so if you don't, I had a question that just came back from one of the audience, and they are asking that you, amongst others, including Cardinal Tumi and Dr. Muzu, were involved in the organization of the All Anglophone conference. So what was their intention? What did you people hope you achieve with this, given that there had been AAC1 and AAC2 before, which achieved nothing, according to this?
Well, it's not like nothing has been achieved. It's still a work in progress. The conference will hold sometime this year. It's a way of also trying to see how we can find a solution to the crisis. It's just our own way of finding a solution. So I think the conference will hold. Let's just wait and see. Let's not jump the gun. Let's wait and see what we can achieve. Yeah.
And this last question from another member of the audience.
Thank you. Last one. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually the last one. Yeah. So
yes.
This is actually a question that has come up. I'm sure you may have answered this question before, but I received this question at least 5 times from 5 different people. So I just thought I'd ask you. So what criteria did you use to hand over the consortium documents to Mark Barra and Tapang Ivo? And if they turn back the clock, would you still do the same thing? And what is your current relationship with them?
I will plead the 5th Amendment right to silence with regards to that, which is a fundamental right. So I plead the 5th, which is a fundamental right. But I think I have a good relationship. I talk to Mark. We exchange ideas. These young men have been fighting. I've not spoken to Tapang for a while. I used to speak to him. He decided to go on social media, insult me and tell lies. But like the grandfather, like the big brother, I'm still open. Anytime he comes back to the family, I would receive him with open hands because they are my children, and a father would never abandon the children. You know, so and that is a spirit, and I think that's the spirit that keeps me going. That I treat everybody with respect. I keep my hands open, and as a father, I accept everybody.
Okay.
So, Mbole, you have the cool down questions to
yes. So I think we have come to the end of the there are a lot of questions. I've seen a lot of questions from the audience, but I know Barrister is tired. We're running out of time.
We hope to have him back. Hopefully he can come back.
I will come back.
Yes,
definitely. We'll send the questions to you and you can answer them and we'll send the reply to the individuals.
Okay,
so Barrister, to end the evening, I just have a few questions, not questions. I will give you about 3 words. You make a sentence, right? With what I say. So for example, start a sentence with I have a dream.
Well, I have a dream that Cameroon would be better. I have a dream that we'll fight against injustice in Cameroon. I have a dream that each and every one would be able to live in Cameroon and achieve his or her dreams.
A leader should.
A leader should be a visionary. A leader should think about the people. A leader should have the people at heart. A leader should not be carried by the crowd. A leader should work for the people and at every time have the people at heart.
The world needs.
The world needs to fight against injustices. The world needs to fight against corruption. The world needs to fight against marginalization. The world needs to ensure that the vulnerable are protected. The world needs to ensure that we don't have problems of having visas, because having visas is a clear example of discrimination and marginalization. Why would some people fly for free without having visas and others need to have visas? The world needs to support the refugees. The world needs to support all vulnerable people in the world. And the world needs even distribution of economic resources.
If I were president of Cameroon?
If I were president for Cameroon, the first thing I would do today, I would release everybody who is in jail. I would call for a broad-based consultation, a national reconciliation and dialogue in Cameroon.
Debate Cameroon is?
A wonderful forum. I want to say thank you. Very professional, very on top of the situation. And I think it's a group that I have a lot of respect. I know some of the members of the Debate Cameroon. I mean, I've known you, Mbole, for a long time. Terence, I used to follow her on Facebook, her arguments with my sister, Eli Onkuma. You know, Eli is my sister from Great Support. Mix, my boy, who was on my case 247 to appear. And I think you guys keep up the transparency, keep up the independence, keep up the neutrality, and I will definitely be back.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Barrister. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, our audience, and you have a very, very good night. Hope you enjoyed the show. And again, I repeat, the show today was sponsored by Nami Naturals. The website is www.naminaturals.com. Nami is spelled N-A-M-E. And have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much, Mbole. Do you have any final remarks?
Thank you very much, Terence. Thank you, dear viewers. And we'll see you in 2 weeks with a debate program.
Yeah. And thank you very, very much to all the team Debate Cameroon or Debate 237 and all our fans out there. We very much appreciate your support and we'll keep on doing our best. And just to ask a favor from you guys, you saw our barrister today come and talk. If you know someone you believe is a specialist in a particular topic, you want them to talk, you just let us know and we'll make contact with him if he's willing to talk. Thank you once more again and have a wonderful day.
Okay.